we have Lainey back.
Hi.
For some reason. You're not allowed to ruin this one.
I'm going to ruin it. It is my destiny.
Oh, God.
Okay, well, before you ruin it, or, maybe concurrently, you were telling us a story. Tell us the story of the drive-thru and the panic at the drive-thru incident yesterday. Yeah. Okay.
I'm so excited to hear this.
Jensen's better at telling it.
Okay, so Lainey and I decided to go to A&W to get dinner last night, which is just a baffling choice because every single time we've ever gone there, we end up waiting for so long. It's a specific A&W that we just always go to. And we love it because we get cheese curds and it's a grand old time. But we always end up running into the most socially awkward experiences. And last night's, it was just a peak.
Can I just say, she set me up because we were leaving and we had to stop by the library to drop off books because what can I say, I'm a scholar. And she was like, why don't you drive? And I was like, fine, okay. And I drove, and that meant that we would be going through the drive-thru and I'd have to order.
So we go through the drive-thru, and we're sitting there forever behind this other car, and then we finally get to go up to the box to put in our orders, and we don't really know what we want yet, so we're just like, we pull up there, and the box doesn't say anything, so we're like, whatever, we're just figuring out what we want. And then we're sitting there in near complete silence, just kind of singing along to our songs, and we realize that 10 minutes has passed. And there has been no sound from this box. And suddenly we start to think, wait a second, did the car in front of us even order? They were also sitting there for a very long time. Did they just give up and drive away? Is this A&W even open? And then we start to really panic because a car had pulled up behind us, so we couldn't just discreetly back out and leave. Our options were sit there until something happens, which may be never, or continue through the drive-thru and possibly past the window where the employees are and just awkwardly be like, we didn't know if we should order. And we start freaking out, and I'm saying, maybe we should just drive through and then pull in and walk inside, and Lainey's like, no, I can't handle this.
I don't know about this, Jens. I don't know. I don't want to do this. I'm embarrassed.
And then Lainey starts hardcore panicking, and she's shaking in her seat trying to unbuckle her seatbelt so she could make me switch places with her. And I'm like, I will not be doing that. That's insane.
Did you try to talk to the people on the other end of the box?
Amazingly, that did not occur to either of us.
You have to understand, though, because we're talking about these two, at no point did they do anything rational.
Aaron, together we have one brain cell. And it was not working that night.
That's
Together,
impressive.
They have one brain cell and 8 times the normal national anxiety levels.
I didn't know. It didn't occur to me to say, hey, is anybody there? It was immediately just well, time to flee for my life.
Yeah, it did. At no point did it occur to us that would be a thing to do. I did think maybe I should call them, but I was like, hell no, am I calling them? I don't even like calling my family members. I'm not calling the A&W on State Street.
Wait, like on the phone?
Yes!
Like they did in olden times.
But for some reason I didn't think to just talk to the box that was 2 feet away from the car. We were panicking, and we're starting to get loud and panicking with the window rolled down, and we're like, maybe we should just go, and freaking out and screaming and clutching each other, and then all of a sudden we hear the box crackle to life, and we hear the voice say, are you ready to order? And
Which
Lainey and I,
they heard all of that.
Because of the timing, they heard every single word we said for 10 minutes.
They stood there listening to our hysteria grow to unspeakable levels.
Lainey and I were both laughing too hard to be able to say our orders, so Lainey just leans over and goes, we need a minute. And then when we were finally ready, Lainey goes, we're ready. And they come back with, just a minute.
In your experience, this is how interaction with other human beings goes.
Yes, right. When we're together, when we're with other people, it goes normally.
If I'm alone, it's fine.
But when we're together, it just doesn't work out, guys.
It's the perfect storm. again, one brain cell together,
You
you know?
guys enable each other.
Yeah.
I think is the problem.
Yeah.
I think we're just an unstoppable duo. We're very powerful.
But in the wrong kind of way.
Like a transcendent,
Powerful week.
Powerful week.
Like
transcendent, interdependent, enabling.
incredibly stoppable.
Incredibly stoppable.
Yeah.
Literally, all you have to do is put us in a slightly embarrassing situation and we cannot function.
Once we like got to the window too, the girl who like helped us and gave us our food, she was like kind of giggling the whole time, and you just know she was just like, "What is wrong with you guys?
Weirdos.
Like,
I just-
are you high?
I'm glad
What's
we
going
were,
on?"
I'm glad we were able to make the day of those 3 A&W employees.
We looked in the windows. We're passing. There were 3 people there,
And they do God's work.
and it's also a KFC. So there's 1.5 employees for each of those restaurants.
So this is Princess in Another Podcast, episode 11. We have Lane with us again. She was a guest for episode 5.
More like a conqueror.
She ruined the podcast.
And what else? Oh, right, we're on Spotify now.
Woo!
I'm just trying to get all
Yes.
the businessy stuff out of the way, all of the informative stuff. I'm sorry that we don't have any kind of like structure or like I don't know.
Sanity.
A couple of times I've thought about how it would be so easy if we just like recorded an intro and an outro and we're just like, by the way, we're on Instagram and this is our email address, and then I just don't do it ever. So we are on Instagram. What's our handle? I don't remember.
Princess in Pod.
Princess in a pod.
It's just Princess.
I think it's
Are you
just
sure it's just
Princess
Princess Pod?
In pod.
Is it in
Princess in
Pod?
pod.
We have to
It's
look
just
up our
on
own
there.
Instagram handle right
Aaron,
now.
the only reasonable one. Present.
The only responsible one.
Princess in pod.
No, Aaron is correct. It is Princess in Pod
Okay.
on Instagram. I think on Twitter it's just Princess in Another Podcast. And yeah, and we have an email address. It's princessinanotherpodcast@gmail.com.
It's all really easy to remember, guys.
It's
I don't
basically
know, you guys managed to forget it, so.
I know.
I was
but
gonna say
I famously forget everything, so it's not my fault.
I kind of thought she was just like throwing shade at me personally. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't remember, even
Yeah.
though I literally created all the accounts.
I guess I just made eye contact with Jensen, but you know, she's like the camera.
Yeah.
I'm the
I
camera.
give you a hesitant but awkward thumbs up.
She's only been here for a couple minutes, and she's already insulting the members of the podcast.
What did I say? I was gonna ruin it.
So, Lainey, as the guest, you may go first. What are you playing?
I just beat Far Cry 5.
Woo! I
Which-
hope to help her.
Yeah. Which, without Jensen, I probably would not have beaten it because Joseph Seed is dumb.
He's a cheater.
I hate him.
And the thing about young Lane is that she rage quits quicker than anyone.
Excuse me, no.
Like so easily.
No.
I think she
Okay.
tried it twice before she needed
Once.
my help to finish
Once.
it.
It was
Once?
once.
Are you kidding me? I was giving you the benefit of
No.
the doubt.
Okay, look. Do you understand? I did not rage quit. I calm quit. It is the quit before the rage quit when you realize that you might rage quit if you keep going. So,
I don't think that's.
I caught it early.
It's still just-
And I just played it once and I was like, okay. And I turned it off. And then Jensen helped me with it.
And
And
she
it was
enlisted me and my alien pistol.
so much easier.
You could drop people like that with it.
Yeah. It was a good time, though. I'm glad that I finally got it done. And I liked the ending. And I also beat What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, and this one is on Aaron's list also.
yes.
So we want both of you to tell us about What Remains of Edith Finch. We're gonna pretend like we don't know.
I mean, go for it. Like,
It's just this awkward
just
silence.
say everything you want to say, because
I love it. It made me feel emotions, which hasn't happened in a while, so you know. It's good for your soul. And I am surprised to find that I still have one.
or that she had one to begin with.
True. And besides that, I started Far Cry New Dawn. I'm not very far in it though, so I can't really say anything. All I can say is that it's beautiful and pink, and I love it.
Pink.
It's pink.
Very pink.
It's so pink.
Ooh.
It's extremely pink.
It's like
great.
Pepto-Bismol threw up over Far Cry 5. But, you know, in a good way. Although, granted, I don't know about anybody else, but every time I take Pepto-Bismol, I throw up.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's supposed to prevent.
The last time Elsa took Pepto-Bismol, she woke up the next morning and thought she was dying. Because it gave her a black tongue.
Yeah, no,
It wasn't a black tongue.
That's what happens if you go to sleep right after you take
Yeah.
Pepto-Bismol. You'll wake up with a black tongue.
Ah.
It was like a black everything.
Yeah.
Like there was black leaking out of my
Yeah.
mouth.
It's because of the. I think it's because of the magnesium in it. It's some kind of weird like reaction that happens.
Well, whatever. You don't want to wake up.
She came up
after-
and she's like, "I think I'm dying, you guys. My mouth is black."
she's either dying or
And me and
she's
Dad were instantly just like,
Possessed.
"Did you take Pepto-Bismol last night?" And she's like, "Yes."
She's either dying or she's found herself in a Billie Eilish music video.
Pepto-Bismol would have been enough, but then looks like Pepto-Bismol threw up. That just, I can't.
You know, I'm just trying to put an
I know.
image.
She could have said it like it was poured all over
No.
it, but no, it threw up
It-
itself all
She
over
could have said
Far
it's
Cry 5.
Projectile
all-
vomited onto the game.
or the game is just Pepto-Bismol.
The game?
Yes, but I think Pepto-Bismol is disgusting. Hence the fact that I've thrown it up every time I've taken it.
So, just don't know why you're taking this thing that you hate and comparing it to a game that you like.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Why do you ask me anything?
So Aaron, what are you playing?
Wait, I just want to point out really fast. I love how we spent like 40 solid minutes talking about how much we love Edith Finch, and then it's Lainey's turn to talk about it, and she goes, "That's okay."
Okay. I'm sorry.
It
I
made
just
me feel things.
sorry.
Literally, that's like all we talked about at dinner.
I just don't know how specific y'all want me to get.
I mean, yeah, I guess there's spoilers and
Yeah.
stuff. But you could talk a little bit about its strengths and weaknesses without giving away plot points.
Okay. It's
If you
pathing.
put like any effort into it at all. You could do that.
Its pathing is genius. Like, sometimes you play a game and you're not sure where you're supposed to go, but that game made it very clear where you were supposed to go for the storyline to continue. So it's like, oh, these words pop up. You follow the words. It like points your camera in the direction that you should be walking. They have light cast on certain places. They use color to draw the eye. It's just very well designed for levels. And it was very interesting and beautiful. And the art direction was wonderful.
Yeah, I would say the pathing in Edith Finch is especially impressive. Also in the kind of... okay, so we talked in our... I don't remember how many episodes ago. 2 episodes? 3? No, last episode. It was the last episode.
Yeah, last episode.
We talked in our last episode about pathing, and I mentioned the house in Marin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And one of the things that I liked about that house was the way, especially if you were naughty like us and you took out all of the window screens so that you could just like go outside from any room. Everything was very circular. There was like a path that led all around the house and through the house, and it was everything sort of expanded out into the woods eventually. And I couldn't help but remember the house from Marin during the part in Edith Finch when you're in that before you approach the house, like that outside area. It just looks almost exactly like the house in Marin.
It
from
really
that angle.
does.
Once you get out close to it, it's completely different. But
Yeah.
like the area around it was so reminiscent of that.
Thick with wood, and it feels almost like you could just get lost outside your own house.
Well, and it had a similar sort of pathing effect where it's like the road is here, but the ravine is here, and you can take either to the house. And then of course there's the lower levels too, and like the little graveyard area, and everything kind of entwines around the house. And it made me think of that a lot.
It was just beautifully designed. And I think it's important to note that I went back and I platinumed it. So that should just tell you how much I really enjoyed this game.
Because she doesn't put effort into anything.
I don't. I'm a completionist, but I'm like a lazy completionist, you know?
She's a completionist when it's something she really likes. Otherwise, she's like, nah.
Yeah, but this one I was just like, I gotta do it. I gotta replay it. I gotta do it. So, I did it. I have finally platinumed one game.
Woohoo!
And
Lainey's first platinum.
Get on my level.
get on my level, basics! And I have to say that the fact that after I platinumed it, I had to go through, and the pathing was just another testament to how clear and wonderful the pathing was, is that I could go into the game again and I could be like, oh yes, I can go through this room and I can come out this way through the secret tunnel and I can be back into the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so good.
The other thing that sticks out in my mind is the level of detail.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like no spoilers, but like there's just little things that it encourages you to explore, and everything you look at is like a clue about something, it feels like, especially when you get into the house. Even just like my initial reaction that I did when I was like, oh, first person, can I see my shoes? And I look down and like right away you start to see clues and hints about what's going on in the game and what the story is, just from like little natural gamer choices like that.
Yes, and I don't think we should get into it, but I think that also those details have this sort of artistic side to them. Like you mentioned in one of the rooms with the birthday candles and the cigarettes bunched together. And it was just very good and genuine. And I thought it was beautiful.
Now we'll hear Erin say the exact same things about Edith Finch all over again.
Erin, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, just, yeah, it's well worth the money. It's a game that I had been wanting to play for quite some time, just through recommendations from different channels like PlayStation Access. But it was one that I just wasn't sure if I wanted to spend the money on it, because I knew it was a shorter game and just kind of a walking simulator. But it's actually really immersive and detailed, like Elsa said, and beautiful, and it has a very somber atmosphere, but there's enough whimsical stuff happening that it's not exactly depressing. It's just, yeah.
Happy sad.
Happy sad. It's beautiful. So, yeah. What Remains of Edith Finch was great.
Also, really quick, before we move on, I just want to add, apparently I was pocket typing this whole time, and now there's a massive string of just letters in our Word document.
Jensen, you're ruining the podcast! You've taken the mantle from me. I don't even have to do my job anymore.
I'm not even sure what this is like.
I'm gonna look and see what it is.
Yes, I need you to check it.
What the hell?
I just was sitting here and all of a sudden I realized my phone was slightly buzzing in my pocket and I was like, oh, am I getting a message? I pull it out, there's just a button of text.
Daily, weekly, Sarah, wak,
Don't read it all, there's so much.
When pocket typing meets autocorrect, this is incredible.
Wait, I want to take
Assassin Fe Assadcast. What are you saying?
Oh my gosh, are you a Twilight in a Star Wars game?
Somehow she managed to pocket type assassinations.
I'm gonna post this on our Instagram for this episode.
Jensen, the Twi'leks in the Knights of the Old Republic. Achuta!
I just wrote Twilight speak. Okay, the reason why assassinations came up so many times is because I type about Assassin's Creed a lot in my phone.
Okay, you need to screenshot this?
Oh, I already did.
Okay, good.
There's 3 of them. That's how long it is. It was 3 screenshots worth, and I'm gonna post it on our Instagram when we put this episode up.
Very well.
Anyway, I'm just still playing the crap out of Persona 5. It's fantastic, and I'm sure it's gonna take hundreds of hours. But I'm looking forward to every minute of it. And let's see. Downloaded Dauntless. It's like an online free-to-play RPG, and it's completely cross-platform. It looks really fun, but I haven't been able to log on yet because everyone and their dog is trying to log in, and yeah, they're trying to fix the servers so that it can handle it.
All those good boys on the internet logging into those games.
Yeah, that's about it for me.
So I had a really interesting time with games. I have been shamefully game hopping for the last like 2 weeks, playing just like a couple hours of various different games because unfortunately all I want to play right now is Cyberpunk 2077. And obviously I can't. So to try and fill the void, I played a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda, Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars, Shadow of Mordor, Assassin's Creed Odyssey,
Mad Max.
And I tried to play Fallout 4 with mods to make me a synth so I could get as close to Cyberpunk as possible. And it only reminded me why I hate mods. Because I spent like 4 hours just trying to install the mods and get them to work and didn't end up actually playing any of the game. Happy things that came out of that. I found out that the photo mode for Mad Max is pretty cool. And it has a video mode that lets you like put on filters and then play the game. And you can like take capture with the filters applied and stuff. And you can have someone else plug in a controller and control the camera.
Oh, that's really cool.
I really want to do that.
Yeah, you should get some friends to help you with that. But not me. Because I don't want
That's
to.
okay. I still have 2 other friends I can ask. Elsa, Aaron.
Aaron,
I'd be happy to be the one playing the game if you want to control the camera.
Ooh, totally. Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to do that. But so there was that, and that was great. And also, Lego Star Wars is always just fantastic. Though the Clone Wars one does frustrate me far more than the other one that I played, just because everything is so hard to get to, you guys. Just going from like the good guy's ship to the bad guy's ship takes a billion years. And that's why I stopped playing it. So I realized something I needed was on the bad guy's ship and I just barely reached the good guy's ship again, and I was just like, nah. I'm gonna turn this off and play something else. And going back to Mass Effect Andromeda was a fun time too. Lots of people rip on that game, but I really love it. It's not as good as Mass Effect 2 or 3. But it's about as good as Mass Effect 1, I think.
Yeah.
I love Mass Effect 1, but
I mean,
it's not as good as 2 or 3.
I didn't acquire a love for the series until I played Mass Effect 2.
Well,
I just ambulated through Mass Effect angrily.
Ambulated. That's an amazing way to describe it.
And then I got to Mass Effect 2 and I was like, oh my gosh.
This game is fun.
This series is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of love for Andromeda. And I've been taking many a screenshot. Just like flying around from planet to planet. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. So I've got like 40 pictures of just planets and space.
Oh, I don't think you mentioned
building
this
up.
one, but I'm pretty sure I walked in and you playing No Man's Sky the other day.
Oh
too.
yeah, I forgot I played some No Man's Sky for a little while too. The photo mode on that one is really fun too. But I was disappointed that it has so few features for like things you can change. It does let you pick where you want the sun to be, which is just loads of fun. But then when it comes to like filters and like all that other stuff, there's very little. It's basically just like you can pick your filter, and I don't even think you can choose the intensity of it. If you can, then I was playing it really late at night and I didn't notice. But I don't think you can choose the intensity of it. But that was pretty fun. Trying to figure out where I want to set up my base. Yeah. I don't know. I was just shamefully game hopping this week.
Yeah, I was too.
Bummer.
That was basically my gaming last couple of weeks. It's just been a lot of game hopping. But I did want to talk a little bit about the other night when I was here, and Lainey played about 30 seconds of Don't Knock Twice, and then decided that it was too scary, and she just handed me the controller.
No.
And then I just played and beat the game in just the next like 2 hours, because it's a short game.
I just noped right out of that.
Yeah, you did. And the more I think about it, the more ashamed I am of you.
Excuse me. Okay, yeah, I'm ashamed of myself
Lady,
too.
it's not even as scary as Layers of Fear.
I was gonna say, because
No, let me tell you though, Layers of Fear, I walked into the main room, I did not get like more than 3 feet into it. I went to the first cupboard, opened the drawer, and I was like, nope, and I turned the game off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Lainey's a coward, but anyway, I started playing. So I played Don't Knock twice. For everybody. I wish we'd been recording. I felt like that was.
Well, that would have been.
It was so funny because you guys are all such wimps, and I liked Don't Knock Twice. I thought it was fun. I think it's fine. It was a fun couple of hours. It's not really doing anything that I've never seen done better in other survival horror games, but it was still a good time. And it's apparently based off of a film, which I found interesting. And the other thing about it that I remembered thinking about a lot later was that it in a lot of ways it reminded me of Among the Sleep, which is interesting because I haven't thought about Among the Sleep in a couple of years. But that was a game that I enjoyed that there's just a lot of similarities to Among the Sleep. But Among the Sleep is this game, survival horror game from a few years ago, that's you play as a toddler in a house, and there's like something stalking you, like boogeyman kind of thing, and you just go around through the house trying to find your mom, and you've got your teddy bear for help, and it's a fun game, but like they managed to enhance the like scary feel of it because you're playing as this baby, so you're so low to the ground, and the perspective is all warped and weird as you're crawling around, and it was just really clever. And I felt like Don't Knock Twice was drawing a lot of inspiration from some of the story. I mean, I don't know if there's any connection, but I noticed so many similarities that it made me want to go play Among the Sleep again.
Well, and it's mostly just because Don't Knock Twice, the monster in it is Baba Yaga, who targets children. It's similar for Among the Sleep.
I thought of that, which is why I there was a couple of times when I was like, why am I playing as the parent in this? Because like Baba Yaga goes after kids, but then of course at the end you figure out why you're playing as a parent, and there's a very good reason for it, like within the game's narrative. But Among the Sleep is essentially that same story, but you are playing as the child, and there's also a good reason for it. What are you trying to say? You look like you're about to cry.
I thought she was going to
and scream at the same time.
I thought she was going to break into soliloquy.
You were talking about why would you be playing as a parent with Baba Yaga goes after children, and at first I was like, oh well, like the fear of having your child taken and having to like go and rescue them, that's like horrifying by itself. And then I immediately thought of the scared shitless thingy that we watched.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just
And then I was like, I was trying not to laugh.
Yes, that one.
I'm sorry.
As I was saying.
Elsa just hates me every time we film.
I don't. It's just that I was.
She just like
we're doing
looks at me with just pure hatred in her eyes.
We're doing a serious analysis of a horror game, Jensen.
Sorry.
And Jensen's like, people poop when they're scared. That's Jensen's analysis.
No, it was because I was picturing the guy in the video who's like, his face when the mom's running after the van, and he's just like, and then they got the daughter, who's like, oh yeah, we've got stunt children. It's funny.
Wow.
Stunt children.
Anyway, as I was saying,
It's gonna make no sense just like hearing it. I also just like touched the microphone. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna like stop talking.
I guess
now.
Jensen is ruining the podcast this time.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
The mantle has been taken from me. What am I gonna do?
I'm just gonna stop.
As I was saying, so what I've decided is that you're basically seeing two different perspectives of the same kind of story, the parent perspective and the child perspective. And I think for a lot of reasons, I find the child perspective to be more effective. But the parent perspective was still interesting. And like, I'm still glad that I got to play through Don't Knock Twice, because it made me kind of think about that sort of scenario and the kind of idea of an adult fear. And I don't know, maybe that's the version of the story that's going to land more with some people. But for me, I think I like it from the child perspective.
So I'd say for the parents' perspective, I think it adds in like a layer of guilt that if you're not able to save your child, you're going to blame yourself.
And maybe I would connect with that if I'd ever had children or if I'd ever loved anything that I'd nurtured in my life.
And that sort of
Wow.
and that sort of adds
Your
on
cat?
I say you have like
I say to the child I raised.
Thanks.
you have, like
And I think-
multiple cats. Like, no, you babysat before.
And I think-
Not even like
I'm just kidding. Okay, I promise. I'm not really that.
you've sat on babies.
Jensen!
Okay, Lainey's getting frustrated because we keep interrupting her.
I just think that guilt sort of adds more of an existential horror to it and less of like a afraid for my life and more like afraid for my mortal soul.
I could see that, but I think that the child perspective was pretty existential. It kind of leads you through the process of like, I don't know, I was reading recently about how fear evolves in a person's mind, and basically when you're a baby, like you're the main thing that you're afraid of is the unfamiliar, and then the more that you start to familiarize yourself with the world, the more you realize that unfamiliar things aren't necessarily threatening, and then you actually can start to develop curiosity at a certain age. But then they talk about how, you know, once you get past that stage, the next thing is, and I could be butchering this analysis, but I think the next thing is imagination. Like basically that's when you start to imagine all of these fantastical things that could happen and could hurt you. And it's always stuff like monsters and, you know, things that like don't really exist and that you don't actually have to worry about. And then you get to the age where you realize that. And that's when fear turns into something tangible and something real. And that flip of this is an imaginary thing that is frightening, and then, oh, I don't need to worry about that, but there's this real threat. That is a thing, like that's something that you see at the end of Don't Knock Twice, and you see it at the end of Among the Sleep, where the imagined becomes something real, something to actually be afraid of. And I think that because that's like a childhood progression, I personally identify with it as a child perspective. But I think you're right. I think that the parental perspective just kind of adds a different sort of dimension of guilt to it. And I do think it would be more effective for some people, just not me.
Yeah, I think bottom line is just that either game sort of plays to a different
Audience.
Yeah, audience.
Yeah. Among the Sleep plays to a better audience.
Hey.
To win.
Shut up.
Okay.
Agree to disagree, jerk.
And
You always just take it a little too
and I
far.
just escalates.
I am now cutting off Phyllis's head with a chainsaw.
I feel
She
like
really
that,
is the Andy of our group, isn't she?
that
Please,
quote
no.
from The Office, like, more than anything, I think illustrates who you are as a person.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't like Andy. It's terrible.
So, for today, we're going to go through this video game questionnaire. I found this online. It was apparently compiled by a professor at Harvard. No, sorry, the other one.
Stanford.
Stanford.
Stanford's
Yeah.
not Ivy League.
Whatever. They've got like a 6% acceptance rate. That's really low.
Yeah, there are Ivy League schools that have a higher acceptance rate. than
Yeah.
Stanford.
So Stanford video game questionnaire. And I don't know much about where this came from, besides that I found it online and they were like, this was put together by a Stanford professor. And I believe it. Maybe not Stanford, but it was definitely something that some professor somewhere gave to his class and wanted them to answer. It just, I don't think anybody puts this much time and this much specificity into a questionnaire that they're just planning on putting on the internet to lie about. Like, it looks like something that they would have actually tried to compile some results from. And so I don't know much about it, but I have some guesses. My first guess is that it was probably put together in like the early 2000s, just because of the references. And my other guess is that whoever put this together kind of thought video games were a waste of time and was hoping that the answers from the class would validate that belief.
You know, just some like really angry professor man.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Or somebody who like thought that the quality of the papers being turned in was going down and he wanted to blame video games or something. I don't know.
This is definitely quite old because for adventure games, they've got King's Quest, Myst, Return to Zork, and Ultima.
No,
my gosh.
under action it has Doom and Street Fighter. So yeah.
Okay, so maybe 90s even.
Yeah.
No, I think some of these were older though.
Or it's just those are the only games that the person
This-
compiled it
Like
knew.
the strategy and puzzle is just SimCity and Tetris.
I
I'm
know,
like even in the
Tetris.
90s there were more strategy and puzzle games.
Yeah,
Shows how
okay.
much he knows.
Okay, maybe this is earlier. The point is, we're gonna go through
And
this
RPG
questionnaire.
games aren't even on there.
We're going to. We're
Don't even
gonna.
have JRPG games.
They don't. Yeah. And we're gonna go through this questionnaire, and we're going to answer the question. We're gonna insert some genres that the person who compiled the either wasn't aware of or that didn't exist yet, because apparently it's quite old. So. Number 1, how much time did you spend last week playing video and/or computer games?
Um,
Well, I can already answer.
Go ahead.
I spent probably 3 hours last week. Not much at all.
Because I made her beat Far Cry 5.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was busy moving stuff around in my room because I just moved back. I've been doing other things.
It's okay. We're not like
It's okay, we're not judging you.
we're not judging
Yeah.
you.
I feel it.
I'm judging you that I had to make you beat Far Cry 5, but that's it. Because she was like, I don't know if I can do it. Even with your help, I don't know if it's gonna work. It's so difficult.
Joseph Seed is a dork.
And we beat him on the first try.
Anyway, Jensen, how about you? Let's go from the one who probably played the least amount of video games to the one who played the most.
Last week was actually kind of a light week for me. It was probably only a little over 20 hours. I know, looking at the little in-game clock in Lego Star Wars, that I probably spent like 12 hours just in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And then I did play a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda and a ton of Shadow of Mordor
Yeah.
last week. Like I think on Saturday, I just played Shadow of Mordor the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, probably over 20.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's a light week for me.
Because I was like sitting beside you the entire time.
Yeah.
Aaron, what about you?
Zach? Do you know?
Is he awake?
He's shaking his head that he doesn't know. I'm trying to remember. Last week I either played a ton or hardly at all because there was a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, so add those both together and then average them.
I don't know. Maybe 10 or so.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had a really light week too. I was working kind of a lot, and I averaged, I think, only about an hour a day. So it was pretty light for me. And because it was only an hour a day, it kind of limited what I could play too, because there's certain games that I don't want to play if I only have an hour.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was, I think I probably only played like an hour a day, 7 hours, I'd say. Question number 2. Do you like to play video and or computer games?
I hate
next
it.
No,
question.
No, like we have to say, so if you've never played, you have to jump to question 9.
No, I've never played.
I've
made
never-
a gaming podcast and we've never played video games.
Hey, Mr. Stanford professor doesn't know that.
Excuse me. I've never played the videos game.
His options that he gives us are very much, somewhat, not really, or not at all.
Obviously, very much.
Very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I would say very much for all of us.
Why would I be here if I didn't like it?
I know.
Okay, and now question 3. What types of games do you play? And you're supposed to check all that apply. So he doesn't really get into like proper game genres, but I think the reason why there's not RPG on here is because whoever wrote this doesn't know what an RPG is. So, but he divides them more into the sorts of genres that you would see if we were talking about like literature or film, because it's action, and yeah, the examples given are Doom or Street Fighter.
Street Fighter's a fighting game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that, Jensen.
Doom is a first-person shooter.
Professor Stanford is not familiar.
Professor Stanford.
Is not familiar.
Well, Professor Stanford should learn.
Also, I'd say that Myst is more of a puzzle game.
Yeah, Myst is definitely more of a
Oh my
puzzle game.
gosh.
Adventure, King's Quest, Myst, Return to Zork, or Ultima. Yeah, that's okay. Simulation, Flight Simulator,
You got
Rebel
that one right.
Assault. I was
I
gonna
don't
say.
know what Rebel Assault
I was gonna say
don't know.
I've actually played all of these so far.
I actually don't think I've played Rebel Assault. I've played,
I haven't played Rebel Assault, but I
and
mean,
I
like,
don't think I've played Return to Zork.
something. I've played something from each of these categories that he's
Oh,
given
for sure.
so far.
I still have Aaron's copy of King's Quest.
Yeah.
That I bought at the DI years ago.
Yeah. The DI
Do
is
you
so
want
good.
it back?
No.
I don't think it works on any modern computers.
Do you remember playing Flight Simulator because our grandfather bought it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was fun.
That was really fun.
And I remember like popping it in and playing it and being like, I'm gonna fly to Australia.
well,
And then finding out it was gonna take the time of an actual flight, and I was like,
What?
never mind.
what I remember about it is that I got in the plane and I was flying it, and after about like 10 or 15 minutes, I think it was Papa came in and was like, "You're doing really well. You haven't crashed yet." And like I immediately got super nervous and embarrassed and crashed the plane.
Papa
That's
was
awesome.
Papa was showing us support for you, and you were like,
Well, no, he just did his thing that he did. You know that laugh he had that was like a Santa laugh where he was like, ho, 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 ho,
Yes.
Oh,
like that.
yes.
Yeah, that was what he did.
Papa's laugh.
And he thought,
Whatever.
NBA Jam, Ken Griffey's MLB, NHL 94.
NHL 94?
"Oh my gosh!"
I didn't even see that before.
I know.
I guess we know when
Was
he made
this
this
made
list.
in 1994?
You told
This
us it was
quiz
from the
is-
early 2000s.
This quiz is older than me.
The truth is, I just skimmed it. I didn't really read it very well.
Well.
Strategy / puzzle. And we already talked about how Myst probably belongs in that category.
Yeah.
SimCity Tetris. Okay, so I mean we all know that my thing is survival horror.
Mhm.
That's my jam.
Not even on here.
Survival horror and the occasional RPG or fighting game. That's pretty much me. And Lane Face, what are your favorites?
You'll catch me playing a lot of open world role playing games. So, yeah, that's basically it. Other like linear, and yeah, I'm boring. Sorry.
Mostly RPG, some walking simulators recently.
Erin likes her stealth
I do like my stealth, yeah. I love my stealth.
and first-person shooters.
Not as much
Not
anymore.
as much now, but like
but
I remember you were the
You
one who
used
was
to totally
like,
trance me in Halo.
I know, yeah.
I even remember that, man. Back when
Yeah.
you guys told me I was playing you handed me a controller.
And then we just told you that you were like Aaron's side of the screen or my side of the screen.
Yes.
That was great.
So good. Dumb kid.
Yeah, I was an idiot.
Was?
Yeah.
I set myself up for that.
and Jensen
Slashers like
Oh,
Devil May Cry.
slashers, yeah, hack and
Okay,
slash.
now I'm
Hack
done.
and So, just like all of you guys, I love my RPGs. I especially love ones with lots of choice and with character creation. And I do love open world games. I really like action adventure games, like Tomb Raider, Uncharted, just stuff that's really story heavy. And stealth. I also am a big fan of stealth. And I love strategy games. I used to play them all the time. I now suck at them. Okay. I always sucked at them. But when I was little, I wasn't prepared to admit that I sucked at them. But I do like them. And I love my puzzle games. So, basically everything but sports games.
Yeah, basically.
And I'm a wimp about survival horror.
You'll find me
Yeah,
playing
me too.
any genre of game, just not sports.
Except wrestling. I am tempted to get the wrestling games now that I know how crazy the
Okay,
character creators are.
But I just want to make
Oh
a
my
really
gosh.
creepy version of The Rock.
I
That's
want
all
to
I wanna
make
do.
Roger from American Dad in WWE 2014 because I know you can.
Yes.
I believe in you, and I want you to achieve this goal.
I want to do that.
Yeah, just
I don't even
looking
think
at
I'd
the
play the game, I'd
different
just make him.
looking at the different types of games listed here, I like all of these. I mean, even sports not my favorite, but I've definitely had some fun playing some of these sports games, especially some of these older ones. Some of the older sports games were kind of amazing, like Tony Hawk. I mean, who didn't love Tony Hawk?
was
Okay,
amazing.
Tony Hawk slaps.
I even remember having a really fun time putting together
What?
like
Expression, I don't know.
playing NBA Jam. Like I remember playing that
Yeah.
and having fun with it. Like these are
I think I still have my copy of that I got from Kim. It was one of the ones that I borrowed and never gave back.
yeah.
I
I don't know
remember.
what to do with it.
I remember hiding the copy at my grandma's because I was so sick of my brothers and my cousin playing it, and it got lost.
Oh
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
I was so done with that game.
Why do you play the games that you have checked above? Choose at the most 3. I love the graphics / realism. Are we all checking this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Checking. Oh, we have to pick 3, but still, I'm definitely gonna check that.
Mhm.
A relaxation, recreation, escapism. I mean,
Check
Yeah.
for escapism for me.
yeah,
Relaxation for me.
it improves my hand-eye coordination.
And
I mean, like
recreation.
that's a bonus, but why am I gonna check that when I can only check 3?
Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
we're already there.
Yeah. It challenges my mind. Also a nice thing, but like same. It's such a great feeling to master or finish a game. I'll check that.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
check
my
that one.
check,
That's a big thing for me. And since, we're not in the 90s anymore, also to get all the trophies or achievements
Yeah.
for me.
Mm.
That's a big one for me.
And then the
It's
last
nice.
one is I'll play anything when I'm bored, which I think is
That might apply to me, considering how much game
Yeah.
hopping I did the last 2 weeks.
it probably does, but you have to only pick 3, Jensen.
I already picked my 3.
I know, same.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking with
Did
them.
we all pick the same 3?
Yeah, we did.
I think so.
Yeah.
We're terrible, you guys.
There's also other. Please specify. Do we want to be original or just not worry about it?
Well, it's great practice.
For
For-
what? For when you have to slay the Capra demon?
Yeah.
In real
You don't know my life.
Don't forget your Black Knight halberd.
Or to level up your weapons.
Yeah.
Or
Don't
to
Like
see that.
I did not do
Or to summon
Until-
a warrior of sunlight.
till
Or
Sen's
five
Fortress.
fire.
I did not level up my weapons till Sen's Fortress.
Or
Uh-huh.
just throw, dung pies over the wall like Dan did. He poisoned him. Just did that until it poisoned him.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Wait. Did that work?
Yeah.
I've been playing this game wrong.
No.
Okay, if you ever want to know how to beat a Dark Souls boss in the cheapest way possible, ask Dan Moyer. He knows them all. It's his
gosh.
favorite way to beat the game.
Oh my god.
Is Dan OP?
No, he's just like he's really into the idea of survival at any cost. He's one of those Dark Souls players.
No, that's amazing.
Like if you make it through, then you make it through. It doesn't matter how you did it.
You know,
Yeah.
I actually think that's totally fair.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you usually play video / computer games? Arcade, on a system. And it mentions Sega and Nintendo, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is 90s.
90s.
On a computer,
I-
IBM.
Oh.
How I love playing computer games on my IBM. I do remember playing computer games on my IBM
I do too.
in 1995.
And my
Yeah.
Macintosh, of course.
How often do you play?
Wait, we didn't answer that one.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought it was just we all okay.
System,
On a system.
obviously, for all
But
of us.
sometimes on a computer, but only until I remember how much I hate mods, and then I go back to a system.
Yes, occasionally on my IBM, because this is 1994.
Yeah, I play them on my system. I play it a lot, sometimes on my Switch, in which case I'm playing it all over the place because it's a Switch. It's nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even sometimes my phone because emulators.
Yes.
And so So how often do you play? Daily, weekly, monthly?
Daily, weekly.
So
Sem-
how
I
did
don't-
you get semesterly?
Oh, that's me.
He has
Oh, that's
semesterly.
Masterly. What?
Semesterly.
Oh, semester.
No.
What?
It's hard. It's Stanford. It's one of those.
I know, but who
So-
would check that?
Right.
I've got to say that the frequency at which I play a game is definitely Sarah Waka ta ta ta.
This is where Jensen put all her weird tech stuff in there.
Right between weekly and monthly. Were there others that got lost in there? Because I don't
No,
see.
it's
No.
just daily,
No.
weekly,
Okay.
monthly, semesterly. Those are your
I love how
options.
many times I wrote the name Cass.
You wrote Ada a lot.
Yeah,
too.
Ada.
Yeah. Kasas, Qatar.
And lots of like the start of Assassin and not totally finishing it.
To kill a guy.
Okay. We all play daily, right?
Yeah.
Actually, probably weekly for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's true. You definitely have a day or two where you don't play. sometimes.
Loser.
I am
I
a
play
loser.
daily
I'm
for
sorry. I have to turn in my gamer card. I'm sorry,
Oh.
guys.
Even if I don't get a chance to play on a system, I'll play something on my phone,
Yeah,
on my
same.
Switch,
Mm.
or anything.
Do you still find time to play when you're busy? Example, during midterms.
I got most of my playing done during midterms and finals. Do you know how many games I beat during midterms and
So,
finals?
Yeah, so I got really into Dark Souls again while I was studying for the bar.
Elsa
So, like,
wins.
the funny thing is that I don't play very much when I have the time to play a video game, and then I play a lot when I don't have the time. So, like, around finals, you will definitely find me playing Skyrim or Far Cry.
I think that when I have something that I need to accomplish and I'm really stressed about it, I tend to be more efficient with everything that I'm doing across the board.
Yeah.
It's like everything gets done a little bit better and a little bit more thoroughly, but I also burn out and I can only do that for a few weeks at a time, and then I'll die. So studying for the bar, I got a lot of studying done. I was also working like 60 hours a week at the time, and
Oh
I was
my
playing
gosh.
video games, and I was still managing to sleep and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I reach a level of maximum efficiency, but it only lasts for like a month or two at the most, and then I crash.
Yeah.
The first time I beat Dragon Age, I started it and finished it within finals week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 60-hour game.
Yeah.
I
That
clocked
is.
in at
I mean-
60 hours and 10 minutes.
Pretty incredible.
There
I
was
still have the save file with the thing because I was like, yay.
There was that one time when it was just Elsa and I at home because Mom and Dad were on their cruise, like a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that time I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna play Dragon Age Origins as a guy. And I started it that week and I ended it by the end of the week. And then I realized that I very much prefer that game playing as a man.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
The best way to play Dragon Age Origins is in a single week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most fun.
So fun.
I can see that.
It's also the most frustrating, and sometimes, especially in Orzammar, the most boring.
Yeah. I definitely did not leave the house that entire week.
I tend to find at least a little bit of time when I'm busy, like late at night or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys are kind of night owls.
Y'all don't
Sometimes.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time to play video games in the middle of the night when you're not sleeping.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
I take issue with this next question.
Yes. I hate it so much.
Do you think games are educational?
It's not so much that part, it's the
It's
next
yes.
line.
And then in parentheses it says, or else all my years of playing have gone to waste.
And then the next line after
No, I should have been reading books all those years.
I'm just
I just
there's something
I take
deeply
issue with that. It just is so...
there's something deeply flawed with thinking that it's a complete waste to spend a little bit of time on yourself relaxing.
Yeah.
That's not a waste.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for you, dang
I
it.
healing
kind
the
of feel
brain.
like that's that attitude. We were kind of talking
Yeah,
about this last night. It's
the-
this attitude of in the American workforce, this idea that like if you're not doing something productive, and they have this really narrow idea of what productive
Yeah.
can
It's like,
be.
are you earning money?
Yeah, basically
Like,
that's what it means. Like, are you earning
whoa.
money, or are you or are you investing in something that is going to earn you money? Like, that's pretty much what's considered a valuable use of time to like certain people.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of this gross attitude in the American workforce that I really don't like it. It makes it very hard for me to ever look at my job as anything more than a job.
Also,
it makes it really hard to be passionate about it when it comes back to this very sort of cold and ultimately, you know, filthy lucre motivated kind of thing. Like, I just hate that.
Also, it stereotypes these two activities as making it seem like video games are a complete waste of time and books make you smart. That is
like,
an oversimplification.
Books good.
That's an oversimplification. There are many books that are
tons of books
are
out there that are
terrible.
trash.
Yeah.
Are
So
terrible.
And there are
trash.
games out there that are trash. But then there's books out there that are good, and
Might
there's
I-
games out there that are good.
Might I name the thing that shall not be named, the terrible One Direction fan fiction that got made into a movie? That doesn't make you smart, Professor Stanford. It was bad.
Just because it's the written word doesn't mean it's good.
To me,
Into
it
a
just
movie.
comes back to like
Yeah,
a very
they did
narrow
into a movie. It's terrible.
definition of what's educational
Yeah.
too. Because there's something to be said. What Remains of Edith Finch is a perfect example. Is it educational in like the traditional sense? No. But did I definitely learn something from it and connect deeply to emotions that are important for my development as a person? Yes.
I feel like it was emotionally educational.
And if that's educational, then yeah, I'd say they're
Yeah,
educational.
and I think that in every piece of media, you will find some, like, in any genre of media, you will be able to find something that is educational. You will be able to take in some sort of information that is helpful to you as a person.
Yeah, and maybe it's not helpful to building up your education in something that's going to help you in your vocation, but it could be helpful in your growth as a person.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, in the end, kind of more important anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think me and Professor Stanford have totally different opinions on what educational means.
Yeah.
I think by his definition, I'd have to say, no, I don't feel like they're educational because I don't think they're teaching me the kinds of things that he cares about me learning. But I like that we've like personified the person who made this question.
Professor Stanford.
Professor Stanford.
You SOB.
What a bastard.
but I have a totally different understanding, but my personal understanding of what's educational and what's a valuable use of my time. Yeah, video games definitely fall under that. The same way that reading books or watching film or spending time with people who I like, you know, is valuable to me.
I mean, video games are the only reason that Jensen learned flag signals that one time,
I
remember?
learned flag signals. I learned Morse code.
Shorthand.
I learned shorthand.
Alchemical symbols.
Yep.
All of those are from Nancy Drew Games.
Yes.
And,
But that's
and
like
those are
more than-
academic.
That's what I mean is that when he says educational, but I think he means academic.
Yeah.
And like there are academic
Well,
things.
I've
you can
used
learn from
knowledge
video
I've learned
games.
from like examples and knowledge from video games and things that I've done for work. I mean, I wrote that paper about AI and like developing a connection with computers, and I used Legion as an example.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's kind of my point, I think, is that like, yeah, there are video games where you do have some kind of academic takeaway, but do video games need that to be valuable?
No.
No.
Because there's a difference between, there's necessity and there's transcendence. And there are games that can give you some material knowledge, and there are games that can give you some transcendent knowledge.
I like it when you quote me.
And games that can make your life worth living, you know?
Well, nobody's on the other side of this issue, so
yeah.
Except for Professor Stanford, wherever
Screw
he
you,
is.
Professor.
it's fine. He's probably like a huge gamer now. Anyway,
Let's hope.
Rather talk to Dr. Sexy.
Or he's a sweet old man who just plays in his garden. Is that what they're doing in their garden when they're out there all the time?
Playing?
I don't know what you do in a garden.
You garden?
You tend
hate
the
your
garden.
life?
You garden. You do that in a garden. You go into your garden and you garden.
fight Mother Nature and it's pointless.
Did you learn nothing from Stardew Valley?
That's a good
Yeah.
point. That one's not very educational.
But it's fun.
But it's fun. I did learn about growing like gem fruits or whatever they're called.
I did learn that
Yeah.
I can spend 300 hours in that world.
Don't the
without even batting an eye.
Don't the croquets in Stardew Valley, don't they even bloom at like the wrong time of
Yes.
year?
Lady was so furious when she found out about that.
I was
She
like-
just like, what is this crap?
Yeah, we were walking by our planter and I looked at the croquets and I was like, oh great, they're the first flower to bloom in spring. It means
I was
spring
like-
is here.
They bloom in winter in Stardew Valley, and Lainey was just like, that's incorrect.
That's wrong!
Yeah, anyway.
Or like when I got after Conan Exiles for giving you seeds when you harvested them from ferns, because ferns don't have seeds. They're seedless tracheophytes. Look it up. Gosh,
Lainey was
Conan.
also angry that she couldn't eat the seeds.
Which they have so much nourishing tissue in it because the seeds are the embryos of the plants, and embryos need a lot of nourishment to develop into a freaking plant.
This really
Durr.
halted her progress in Conan Exiles for like a while. She was
I
just
just-
yelling about this.
I zoned out for a second, but I think Lainey's advocating eating embryos, so we should probably move on to the next question.
Lainey, can you
There's a lot
stop
of
bringing up
nutrients.
cannibalism all the time?
There's a lot of nutrients in them. Why do you think eggs are so good for you?
All right, question 10.
Thank you, Erin. We're skipping question 9 because that's
it's
the one
stupid.
for people who don't like video games, and
Yeah.
that's clearly not us. So, question 10. Sex.
Yes.
That's the question.
Lainey is Austin Powers.
She just hides her head
Yes.
in shame after she makes that joke.
Have I ruined it yet?
We're all girls.
We're all cis female.
Female.
Yeah.
Cis female. She, her. She/her. Hello.
Let's see, what's the next question? Age.
We're all different ages.
Except me and Aaron.
Whoa, wait, are you guys the same age?
Yeah.
I thought Aaron was slightly older.
Wait, are you slightly older than me?
Aaron is, but
I'm
I think you
29.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're not the same age anymore. Not again till August.
I know.
Aaron! I'm
Jensen!
28.
Aw.
Oh, I miss you.
You don't have to say it. I'm 18. I'm gonna be 19.
I wasn't gonna not say it. I just thought we were going in order.
I don't know. It went Aaron and then Jensen. We're not going in any specific. Oh, wait. No, that doesn't make any sense. What am I saying?
What
am
are
I
you
thinking?
saying? Were you thinking Elsa was younger than you?
No.
So I'm 31.
This is my little sister. This is my little sister, Elsa.
I was 12 years old when you were born. People thought you were my child.
She's going on 17.
I was a very tall 12-year-old.
True.
Oh, man.
When you were in high school, was there a computer in your home?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I had a laptop. Because, you know,
Yeah,
when
I
I
had-
was in high school, it was 2015 to 2018.
I had my own laptop in high school.
I had Snapchat in high
That
school.
was the
Think
first
about
time I
that.
had my own laptop.
Ugh.
It was
because
terrible.
oh man, that is depressing.
Everybody had puppy dog ears and I was crying.
The two things are unrelated. Question 13. What do you think of math?
Boo.
I like math. It's the language of the universe, and the language of commuters, and the language of video games, technically.
I used to love math, but then it decided that it hated me when I got to college.
Okay.
So,
But calculus is really cool.
So basically,
So Elsa.
we're all at different places with math. On opposite ends of the scale, Lainey loves math and Erin hates math. Jensen used to be a fan of math, but has fallen out with it. And I used to hate math, but have recently decided that I kind of love it. And I actually wish that I had thought about studying accounting in my undergraduate. So,
Yeah.
But at the time, I was still kind of on my I don't like math kick.
I mean,
And then I figured out later that it wasn't that I didn't like math. I just had never had a very good math teacher.
I'll tell you, I didn't like math in elementary school, but that was because
no one likes math in elementary
no
school.
one
except
likes math
weird
in elementary
kids.
school, but specifically because they had us do those timed sheets of subtraction and addition, and I always got so much anxiety over them that I took a lot longer than any of the other kids, and they thought that I was slow at math, so they put me into a special math class, and
It was a nightmare.
it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And they finally figured out after a couple of months of me in it, they're like, she understands the concept, she just has anxiety. Like, gosh. But then after that, I got put into the accelerated math class, and I thought it was wonderful. And I learned about, like, negative numbers and how they're different.
We're gonna cut this.
There are different number lines, and it was wonderful.
This is so boring. Like, he's just talking about math.
No, I think that's calculus.
Jensen's lost it because I just mouthed at her. We're cutting this.
Cutting this.
I was like sitting there slowly, my eyes going out of focus, and then I noticed Elsa just staring at me with her eyes all wide, just like, this is not staying.
One of these days, I'm gonna find somebody who cares about the things that I talk about when it comes to math.
Moving on.
Math podcast.
Math podcast.
Oh,
I bet there's
gracious.
a lot of math puns you could come up with.
Oh my
for the
gosh,
name.
so many.
So how many hours a week do you work for pay? So
Hmm.
during tax season, like 80 to 90 a week.
Good
And
grief.
not during tax season, it's more like part-time. It's like 15 to 30.
It's
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
That is
It's-
pretty sweet.
It's really nice.
Makes bank too.
I'm currently unemployed because I just moved away from my college town. But when I was working there, I worked about 11 hours a week, just part-time. And then this summer, I'm going to be working full-time in a couple of weeks. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I work full-time, 40 hours a week.
I'm going to be moving from 20 hours a week to full-time in the next couple weeks.
And you also have another job, though.
Well, that one, it's for pay, and that one doesn't pay me right now.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot it said for pay.
it's an internship, so.
Yeah.
It was. It won't be very soon.
Do you own a PC? I own a Mac.
I own a PC.
I have
several.
I have a beautiful Surface laptop, and what did I name it? It's
GLaDOS?
GLaDOS? No, that was my old computer. I think this one is like Space Core or
Oh, yeah.
something like that.
Space Core.
Unless my phone is called Space Core. It's something from Portal.
Yeah.
It might be named Atlas, actually.
No, your phone is Wheatley.
No, my old phone was Wheatley, and then the one before that was
Oh my
Chiquita
gosh.
for some reason.
Chiquita Vespaz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Wheatley, this is Space Core. My laptop.
Are we just naming off all of our things?
Aaron, do you own a PC?
I own a terrible laptop. Zach owns a Mac, and I guess technically we have a PC over here. I say technically because it's also pretty terrible.
Does it have a CD-ROM?
I think so.
Yeah.
One of mine does. My gaming laptop does not, but
Yeah.
my desktop does.
Mm-hmm.
My Surface laptop actually doesn't have one. I have to hook up an external CD-ROM to it,
Mm-hmm.
but that works fine.
My Surface Pro also doesn't have a
Yeah.
disk tray.
If I had just read this
Mm.
one question, I would have realized that this questionnaire was made in the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 16 is, do you have an email account?
I have like 7.
I have several.
I have 5 that I can think of off the top
Yeah.
of my head.
I
Yeah.
have like several school accounts,
Yeah.
and then I've got like a personal professional account, and then I have my personal junk account, and then I have this account that I forgot the password to.
And 17, what grade do you expect in this class? I think I deserve an A.
I think I'm probably going to end up getting an F because the teacher's not going to like any of my opinions.
That is how college works.
I don't know what kind of class it is, but if it's anything in the humanities, I'll probably get an A in it.
If it's rating
That's
me on
true.
video games, I'll get an A.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aaron gets an A. And now, final question before we say goodnight. What are you looking forward to playing next?
Oh.
Everyone's looking to Aaron.
Aaron?
Looks at
Aaron,
me.
You're at the-
You're
you're
I'm
at
at
the
the
top.
top. Okay. Oh, okay. See, I am super excited for Control coming out in August, I think. And is it Maiden or
Man of Medan.
Medan?
Or Medan.
Medan.
My man,
Something.
Medan.
It's it's the spiritual successor to Until Dawn, and I'm super stoked for it because that's the only survival horror game I've ever managed to play through successfully,
Same
and
here.
it's awesome. So yeah,
Same for
super
me, too.
excited. I think that's also in August. So yeah.
Good choices.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those too because survival horror.
I'm
Gotta love it.
especially looking forward to Control.
That looks
That's
amazing.
Really fun.
There's some other really good survival horror titles coming out soon that I am excited about, and I'm also excited to just. I'm probably gonna take a day or two at some point and just browse through like the Switch store and PS store and just see what's on sale and just buy some random survival horror games and just try some little ones. And I mentioned that like I only played 7 hours last week, probably because I think on average I was only playing for about an hour a day. I really want to set aside a couple of solid days to game and to work my way through the rest of Sekiro because I feel like that is a game that picking up for an hour at a time is not productive. So I really need to have some real time to play that. So I'm gonna have to make my schedule accommodate that.
So obviously I'm super looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, but since there's no information about when that's gonna come out, more like attainable goal I have is Rage 2. Don't have the money to get it right now, but I'm excited to get it because I found out it does indeed have a photo mode, which is, episodes ago we were talking about like the would you rather for which games you would play. And I said I would choose Rage 2 if it had a photo mode. And there it goes. And plus it's a brightly colored apocalypse, which is my new favorite thing. So I'm gonna get that when I have money.
Nice.
Yeah. Or at least rent it from Redbox.
Yeah, so I'm excited to play a little bit more for New Dawn, especially since Jensen really liked that. So I'm going off of her opinion and experiences of that. Although I'm not as into photo modes as she is, but maybe this one will change me. It'll convert me to the Church of Photo Mode.
Come to my church, Lainey.
Jensen is proselyting.
I am proselyting. And I was gonna make another joke.
Are we sure? Are we sure it's a church and not a cult?
It's most definitely a cult. We even have Kool-Aid we offer at the end of each.
Oh my gosh, no!
Okay, it's just like always.
I'm
too
sorry.
soon.
I'm sorry.
You can't make Kool-Aid jokes, Jensen. Okay. I think Man of Medan is also one on my list, especially since, like Aaron, the only survival horror I've ever been able to beat is Until Dawn. So I'm excited to see what else that production company makes. And I'm of course very excited for Cyberpunk, but as Jensen said, so I'm probably going to take some time for E3 to find whatever I'm most interested in, but right now I don't have much on my mind.
Mind.
I'm sorry. Not eloquent. I'm not Tyrion Lannister. I don't know what I'm saying.
Tyrion Lannister hasn't been eloquent for 2.5 seasons.
True. He doesn't know what he's saying either.
Okay, let's not get into this. We'll be here all night.
So we listened to a new gaming podcast this week, BitHud. I think it stands for Boys in the HUD, which made me laugh for a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're a cute gaming podcast. We like them. And Dan and Thaddeus, they sound great together. Their opinions on Mass Effect are,
Wrong.
but we've enjoyed listening to them. That's definitely one that I'm glad that I discovered. It seems like they've been podcasting about as long as we have.
Yeah, but at the same time.
Although I think they've recorded more than we have. It's just that some of it has disappeared forever.
Well, it's moved. I went on their SoundCloud and they said that their other episodes are on a different website. And I went there, but I was at work, so I had to quickly hide it because
Jensen admits to the entire internet that she is a bad employee.
No, well, it was just that I wanted to see if I could find him on SoundCloud, and I happened to be at work at the time.
I find it so interesting the things that people choose not to release in podcasting, because to me, like, we have literally just published everything, no matter how trash it was.
I just told
We have cut out like hours of Aaron's laughter.
Yeah.
I just told the entire internet that every time I take Pepto-Bismol, I throw it up. So you know how this.
That's not that embarrassing.
It's really
We're cutting this too.
I feel like it's too much, though. You know, no one needs to know that.
Thank you for that thought that will definitely remain in the podcast forever, Lainey. Anyway, BitHUD podcast. We've enjoyed them a lot. They've been fun, and we recommend them.
If there's any listeners out there, go ahead and give BitHUD a listen.
Maybe give us a listen too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Stop burning your own podcast.
It was like Scott Pilgrim versus.
Can't believe it! I came here to ruin it. You're ruining it for me, Jen.
Okay, that's probably good.
It's like, you're in a band? Yeah, we're terrible. Please come.